Good morning, everybody. We're gonna talk today about a very interesting research project, an empirical research project that we've been initiating a few months ago with Away. I say empirical research because we don't do scientific research there, but more research on the sound based on a dream, actually, a metaphor that Wu Wei had and that we would like to realize if it's possible. That will be the point. So basically, the presentation is called A Forest of Pipes, presenting the 37th Sheng from the inside. Wu Wei and we're gonna explain what we mean with a forest of pipe, and above all, what is the 37th Sheng. Lini, who did a very interesting presentation right before, talked about the 37th Sheng. We're gonna talk a little bit more about it. We're gonna speak about how it's been done, its relation to the tradition, its respect to the traditional instrumental making of the Sheng and of the show. And the very topic of this of this presentation is how can we make it to achieve our goal. So the presentation will be, we're first going to explain the goals a little bit, then speak about the design of the traditional shengs and of the sheng, the 37 sheng that Wu Wei is playing. Then we're going to speak about usual microphone system for the Sheng, and then explain what's our approach to design this new microphone system. It doesn't mean to be the best recording or microphoning system for the Sheng. It's just a possibility to achieve a specific goal. So let me just move my my camera. The goals of the project. When you record an instrument, most of the time what we expect from an instrument is in a live or studio production is that it's been presented, so to say, realistically, meaning that the listener is expecting most of time a sound source with a specific width, a specific depth in the sound image, in the stereo image, for example. And in this sense, the instruments, and in this case, the Sheng, is often presented from outside, okay, as an external object from the listener. This very interesting and very used approach that I use most of the time when I work is a kind of imitation of a real situation. This is not what we want to achieve today, and what not would want to achieve in this project. The idea of Wu Wei was to do a perspective reversal, meaning that you put the listener inside the Sheng, so to say. This is why we call it a forest of pipe, because the forest of pipe is the analogy, which is a metaphor which is often used, for example, the pipe organ, the church organ. We would like to find practical methods to put the listener surrounded by the pipes of the Sheng. And if you know the Sheng, Wu Wei will play and will show the instrument a bit more. You know that it's of course physically impossible to put the listener inside the Sheng, because the Sheng is like 20 centimeters big in terms of diameter. Wu Wei shows his Sheng here. I'm gonna put my mouse there, and you can see, I cannot do that, that we have indeed a small hole between the pipes in the middle. We could put a microphone there, but the problem is that most of the pipes, of course, are meant to be radiating outwards toward the room and toward the listener. So we have to think about non-realistic way to achieve this goal, and this is what we're going to try to present today. How do we do that? How do we approach this problem? First, we thought both important to respect the tradition, the musical tradition, the tradition in terms of instrument design, and of course the tradition in terms of experience that's been accumulated in the last decades and years about how to record the Sheng, how to amplify the Sheng in a live situation. So of course we have to diverge from this tradition at one point, but we would like to keep the link and make it, if it's possible, connected, related to the traditional musical and technical ways to approach the Sheng. There is, as I said, a mismatch. Like there is a problem between like what we want to achieve, having the listener inside the pipes, and having a Sheng which has 20 centimeters of diameter with the pipe radiating outwards. So basically, we have to do the opposite of physical situation. It's not impossible, but it's maybe a little bit challenging. And what I mean with challenging is, of course, you can imagine having like one microphone per pipe, and then do what you want with post-processing afterwards. That's a little bit ambitious, I would say. It's not impossible, but it meant that you have 37 microphones, a forest not only of pipe, but a forest of microphones, that many cables, and it would make, of course, the instruments really hard to play for the musicians. So we have to make a compromise, and this is what we're going to present today. Of course, we won't present a final result. It's an ongoing project. We're just basically not even at the middle of this research, but probably at 1/4 or 1/5. We don't know. But nevertheless, we have hopefully some interesting thing to show you. I would like to leave the word to Wu Wei at this moment, that he can speak a little bit more about his instruments, because he knows his instrument much better than I do. So Wu Wei.
Hello, hi, my name is Wu Wei. So you will see this amazing instrument, 37’s Sheng. It was designed by Professor Wang Zhenfa from Shanghai. Yeah, he looks like that. Fantastic. He's a fantastic player, and I think in this century, nobody can play more than him. And another one is the Professor Mo Shanping. He come from Shandong province. He development his own style from Shandong traditional music. And in end the 70s and beginning 80, so the beginning together have the idea want to create some Sheng much more notes pitch range, not only diatonic or pentatonic Sheng. So you will see the traditional Chinese Sheng basic from the 17 pipers Sheng. In that time, my professor Feng Zhenfa, he worked in the Chinese radio film orchestra. Every day he becomes a new composition between Chinese Sheng and orchestra. He feel 17 pipers Sheng or 23 or 25 still too less notes. If you want to play more different music, it's very limited. So he has idea together work with Mo Shanping together. I think in 1985. So after 5 years or 6 years together work, they do a lot of experiment. So you will see then this instrument in 1995. 1985.
1985.
So, yes.
Yeah, great.
So that's until now it's already 30 years, more than 30 years. Yeah, and I want to explain a little bit about design concept from because both player is very good player from China, and they found very important. We have to respect the traditional Sheng, the sound we could not change, and we could make a much more pitch range, but the sound have to keep. And so they have found some pipers, different mechanic. Okay, they have folding tube. So we can go next page, please. Next page. Sorry.
We have some common
next
signs.
page. Okay.
Next page.
Next page.
Previous page.
The next one. Okay, so folding tube and also linkage key. This kind of mechanism was come inspiration from basson or flute or clarinet, but it's very special. It's the key. I think you can read the text.
Yeah.
Made by chromatic 37 notes.
Yeah, the Sheng is, in contrary to the traditional Sheng, this 37 Sheng is made chromatic, fully chromatic over 3 octaves from G3 to G6. So as we explained, we need some keys because there's basically not enough space to have all the holes for 37. So we have to, the designer had to make some very clever system with the keys that can access all the notes easily. In order to open the pipe holes thanks to cups. I underline open because in the traditional instrument design, the holes are meant to be closed in order in order for the sound to be emitted. For this system with keys, some of the pipes to the keys, the hole need to be open. That's already a difference. And then it's fitted also with resonator. They can see here on the side of some pipes to amplify some of the noise of the highest register.
Yeah, great. Yeah. And also, they keeps very important is they keeps fingering of the tradition. So we can go next page.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry.
And I have to move the videos. Yes.
Next.
Here we go.
Okay, so about the tube, you will see explain the first one. Yeah, you will see the key and the cup, and you will see the window. Yeah, if you push the hole from this side, so you will produce the sound from the windows, first window, and if you push the key, so you will open the cup. Yeah, open the cup, then produce the sound. Actually, a very clever idea. Flute always close the sound, close the cup, but he opens the cup to make the sound. On the second one in middle, it's with a resonance tube, and both sides come out with the sound, and the last one it's just normal from traditional Sheng produce a sound from the windows. So if you make a microphone, you have to take care of where produce come out with the sound. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, that is our pitch. So I write in small G to G3, the pitch range. Before it's just diatonic, so just we have 3 octave. We have low register, middle, and a little bit high, and the high register. So it's each register have own very strong character. Yeah, next. Okay, one point is it's about Americanish.
American, yeah, indeed.
Yes.
Many documents about the Sheng, speaking about fingering and not range, are using the so-called Helmholtz notation, which is of course more than valid. It's a little bit different than the so-called scientific notation, and we decided actually to put everything in the scientific notation with A4 corresponding to more or less to 440 hertz, depending on the tuning, of course. And here, as you can see in this document, it's small g to small g3. It means in scientific notation, big G3 to big G6, actually. That's the main difference.
Yeah, right. So next. Okay, so we just combine 2 different fingering chat. One is 37 pipers Sheng, and another one is originally actually come from Hebei fingering. Hebei fingering actually in China very popular. I think in early time also for the court music. So you will see we have four notes. It's a little bit different, like 37. That means we always mostly keep the original fingering because it's very important. It's left side. You will see left side from D6, A5, B5, and C sharp 6. This is very important. This kind of fingering, you for the gagaku music chords, you could play. So it's very naturally like the form like your finger, yeah, like your hand. It's more flexible. Another way is in Chinese music you could play li ying, something like that. So it's older like yeah, it's very practice. So reason. Yeah. So we go next next side. Combine the Sheng and the Shu. You will also see there are four notes.
Three, actually.
Three. Okay.
Maybe four. Maybe I made a mistake.
Yes, that is sharp F. Sharp F in my Sheng actually
Sorry, F sharp is
yeah,
6.
yeah, it's just we already changed in the middle finger
Which
from
is here?
yeah, from right hand.
Mm-hmm.
So because this note very important for the gagaku music chords, I think it's a very right position. And another one is F5. F5.
This one?
We changed already in index
Which is
right.
here?
Right. Index is right F6.
Yeah. F6, sorry.
Yeah, yes, inside.
F6
Yeah,
is
yeah,
inside
yes,
here.
yes, yes.
Sorry.
So we change because F6 not very usual to use this note.
Okay.
But so you could in same time play F6 and sharp F5. And in short, sharp 5 actually is yeah,
G sharp 5.
Yeah, so we use left trump, and so in this same place we use another so octave with G sharp 3 is inside with
here.
the key. Yeah,
that's the.
Yeah, you're very fast. Great.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I learned.
So, yeah, it's a mostly same position, but it's different octave. You know, the Sheng 37 pipes Sheng for the fingering design, it's so complicated. If you change one notes, you will have less and more or something combination. The creation, so both Meister Mr. Wang and Mr. Mo have spent so many time to make optimal combination. So you know, this they keep the traditional fingering chart, and then they have to building whole chromatic system. If you play chromatic, you will see it's kind of root like so no Sheng is how to say crossing with the fingering crossing. It can make much more comfortable and fast to play. So I could play chromatic scale and no problem. And in some my maestro he play in tempo 180. So with this piece, it's for him no problem. Yeah, that is. Your question?
Yeah, just would it be possible that you play us a small example of gagaku music with your instrument?
Oh yeah, yeah. So just let me try.
So I'm gonna switch
I play
off
Panchikicho
the
no
main
Chos.
mics.
It's you know, this music come from 7th century. I learned from my maestro from Manabe Naoyuki. I love this music.
Thanks a lot. Meanwhile, I switched the mic to the system that you could see on the Sheng that we're gonna present a little bit more afterwards. We kept also the sound dry, so without any reverberation. First, that we, in order to hear the sound how it's being captured by the microphone itself, and second, because there is also this weird figure here, which may be a little bit weird for a non-trained person. It's basically a spectrum analyzer that shows basically all the frequencies of the sound which is being broadcasted. We decided to show that because something really interesting that you can hear and that we can see is that we have information much below the lowest register of the lowest note of the Sheng, which is G3, corresponding to 200 hertz, and we had information from even sometimes 3 octaves below the note being played, sometime around 100 hertz. This physical features is indeed embedded with the Sheng. It's not distortion coming from the studio, it's really in the Sheng, and it was indeed also used by the Gagaku music on purpose. If when Wu Wei plays loud, you can notice that the sound becomes rougher, with more intensity, more crispiness, and part of it really comes from this different tones. That's the name of it. Wu Wei,
Yes.
Can you maybe play small examples with just 2 notes so that the listener can understand what we're talking about? We're just gonna try to play small chords, soft and loud, so you can see and hear the difference.
Yes, I think different notes tone only come from high pitch. In my Sheng, so for example, I play C sharp 3, so 6, C sharp 6, and D sharp 6. You will hear very interesting the different notes. It's 3 octave lower than it. Okay, for example. If I play soft, I think it's not very clear. If I make much push, so in the old Chinese poetry, that talk this kind of sound is like citata. Citata is kind of some insect in summer, right, on the tree. The produce that.
I don't know in English.
Citata. Okay, something like that. Yeah. Yes. That is for example, and so you have to put more notes. For example, if I make a cluster in this high pitch, there come a lot of this kind of different notes. I think you already catch something.
Yeah.
Yes, please.
Thanks a lot. So this is something we found out actually during the very first step of our research. It was not our first goal, but we found out that actually those different tones are not produced by our ears, are not produced by the microphones. They already exist in the instruments. Of course, if you compress more, if you put some distortion, you can even enhance them. But naturally, they're already there. It's like physical characteristic of the instrument. Maybe we can go further.
Okay. Next. Thank you. So we still have a lot of potential to research this kind and this thing. Yeah. And
the next step will be about putting both previous topics together, meaning that the position of the sound sources and the different pipes, and the fingering chart of the 37 Sheng. This is the 37 Sheng, so seen from above. This reveals only a very limited point of view of the truth, because the truth is that the sound is not coming from like a ring, but it's coming also from different heights, depending if you have a pipe of type 1, like traditional pipe of type 2 with resonators, or pipe of type 3, which is a double pipe with keys. Let's give you, for example, like a small, for example, this is the right side of the Sheng from the point of view of the musician. The G sharp 5 is pipe with resonator, so the sound source is here and a little bit here as well. Let's say the middle of the instrument. Then I take let's say 1 octave below, more than 1 octave below, that's E4. E4 is come from a double pipe. Basically, you have a key here, which is triggering a cup there, so the sound source is there. So there is already a difference, like maybe 20 centimeters, 15 centimeters.
Yes.
And if I take D4, D4, which is the highest note in terms of really of geometry of the Sheng, the sound source is there. So you can notice here that we have kind of a problem if you want to make all those together. And of course, I haven't talked about the highest note of the note range. In this case, for example, F sharp 6, which is coming from here, because the resonators are here.
Yes.
So if you want to put one microphone to capture all those 4 notes, then you will fail. It's just impossible to have one microphone that which is able to have this note, this note, this note, and this note, and at the same time, which is close enough to the instruments. If you want proximity, we don't need proximity, but for our goal, we would like to have some proximity. So this means for us, we have to at least to use 2 microphones, one from the highest notes, which gonna have, and one for maybe those 3 notes, or maybe even better, one for here and one for this. But we're gonna speak about that later.
Yes.
Yeah, maybe we can start to speak about microphone system. That I think that would be the time for that.
Yes. Next.
So the tradition in terms of microphoning, that's very, I mean, you have access to limited documentation on internet on about that. Of course, I have the chance to work with a great master of the Sheng, and also that can speak about the way his instrument is usually recorded or amplified in a live situation. That's one possibility. You can have like 2 kind of overheads separated. You need them to be separated because the sound is radiating, as you understand, from everywhere around the instrument. And more from the top, because you need to support a little bit the lower register, the lower register of the instrument. And then that will be already a good possibility. It gives a good overall sound image. It gives also a good high register with enough overtones. The overtones are very strong in the instrument. It's not the big problem. The problem is rather the low register, which is warm and very nice, but it's hard to project, especially if the instrument is playing with other instruments like big bands or orchestra, which we often does. So the problem of this is that we are a little bit too far from the lowest notes to get enough precision to be able to have some enough warmth and presence of the low register. And the other problem is that we have only 2 microphones, and the Sheng is like 360 instruments. So basically, if you put 2, let's say you have the Sheng here, and you put 2 microphones in front of the Sheng, then you lose a part of the information. Except if the acoustics of the room is good enough, so that the sounds coming radiating backwards is being reflected back to the microphones.
Yes.
So this won't, of course, work in an anechoic chamber or in a room which is too big to offer this kind of reflections. So this is something that you have to take care of. Another option, if you want to support the low register, would be that has been tried several times, to put one single closed microphone on the very top of the instrument. This you can, for example, you can find this kind of attempts on documentation. It's it has problems. If you know the radiation of the instrument, I have to be honest, I knew nothing about the instrument like 1.5 years ago. Now I start to know a little bit better, and I could say now that this cannot work if you want to represent the whole register of the instrument, like a well balanced instrument from G3 to G6. What's gonna happen, and what happens actually quite often, is that you're gonna capture mostly the D4, which is there, and a little bit more of the middle notes, and you have very little of those notes radiating from the side and from below the instrument. So I haven't tried. I could say why not, but only with extra microphones capturing the rest of the sound. What Wu Wei usually does is following. He has a microphone system that he built, he made build for like 10 years ago, made of 5 miniature microphone, omnidirectional microphones. It's electric capsules. They are basically mixed together. And those 5 microphones are positioned here, 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 and here, where the red arrows are. Then you have much more flexibilities, because then you can capture the D4, which is the problem we mentioned before. But on top of that, comparing to this one, you have also the possibility to capture the other notes of the register, and also to decide the balance between the notes, because you can freely change the heights of the note. I'm gonna just play a small example of this system that we recorded. Here it is. So, as you can notice, it gives a surprisingly good result if you consider that those electret capsule cost maybe €2 in an electronic store. Of course, there is a lot of work to connect them together, but it's not that expensive. Those microphones are not high-end microphone, but they provide anyway quite a good sound, I have to say. They provide a warm sound, which is typical for omnidirectional capsules. The omnidirectional microphones have nice, natural sounding low frequency, which is a challenge for directional capsules. We're going to speak about it later. They have indeed some reasonable dynamics. It's not professional high-end microphones, but for live situation, it's it's much more than good enough. Actually, it's quite good, and I would say it's really good for recording. Indeed, you have to be careful of the position of the microphone, but as I said, Wu Wei did that for like 10 years now, so he knows exactly where to position the microphones. Interesting is also that those microphones are quite high in the instrument. So they should capture quite little of the of the low register, which is indeed the case, but of the high register, sorry, I mean the highest overtones, the highest notes. It's indeed the case. We have less of the highest register, but it's first, it's not a big problem because it makes the sound a bit warmer and rounder. And second, this microphone system is often supported by overheads I mentioned before that indeed give this high frequency information that we're missing.
Yes.
You want to add something to that?
Oh, so the problem, big problem. I think that if I play with the big band, if I not need more volume, so because this microphone automatic will catch other sound in same time. That's the bigger problem. I think I could not make more them come feedback.
Yeah.
Okay. Great.
Because it's omnidirectional. That's
Yes.
the main drawback.
Yes. But I like the warm just from middle and low register. Yeah. Great.
So basically, that was our starting point. We wanted to have something based on this interesting example, but try to first to correct the problem of feedbacks. And to correct the problem of feedbacks, either you put the musician in a cabin, which is bad, or I'm kidding, or you have to be more directional. Meaning that you have to replace the omnidirectional omnidirectional microphone with directional microphones, which has a price for the low frequencies. But depending where you position them and how you post-process them afterwards, this may be something that you can overcome. And the second problem of the system, which is indeed great for live, but not necessarily for what we're looking for, this forest of pipe thing, is that if you want a forest, you need several trees. And this mic provides only all trees together. So you have like a very, you cannot expand the forest in space. So technically speaking, this microphone system is not multi-channel, it's monophonic. You could make it multi-channel, but then we decide to try to correct or to change both features at once and try to work directly with 4 or 5 different directional microphones. So we started, the first time we saw each other, we started with stand microphones. Those are like AKG C414, quite good studio microphones, not always suitable for live, but we were in a studio situation, so that was the big deal. And we just put those microphones, like 4 of them, and we just try. So I'm gonna just show you very quickly how it sounds. That would be this one. Yes. Yeah. So as you can notice, I forgot that I don't have video on this example. Sorry. So you saw a black screen all the time, and I was focused on my Reaper session. Whatever. As you can notice, the sound is warm.
Yes.
It's interesting. It has already some room information, which is a good and a bad thing. That depends on the goal. I wouldn't say it's a good or the bad thing. I would say if we want to have more flexibility to post-process it afterwards, sorry, then we probably need to have less room information. And on the live situation, more distance to the musician means also more leakage. So this is not something which is practical for live situation. It's good, and those microphones are really meant for that, for this kind of distance and this kind of warm sound. So we say, okay, it's too far away. Let's try to go a little bit closer. So we went closer and even closer, and it gives this sound. So, as you can immediately notice, we have indeed less room. That's the good news. The bad news is that it starts to sound a bit claustrophobic. Claustrophobic, I would say, not only because we have not enough room, but also because those microphones make a kind of a big zoom on this part of the instrument, and also especially a zoom in the low frequencies, the so-called proximity effect. They make an unnatural boost of the low frequencies. That's something similar to all directional microphones, but those microphones are basically not meant to be used so close to the instruments. So they're not the instrument that we should use if we want to get that close. We hadn't at this point. It was like 6 months ago. We hadn't the proximity microphones, miniature microphones, but we wanted to test it. I would say it's interesting, but it's not satisfactory. We look for clarity. We look for a good balance between the register, and we get kind of the opposites. We lack harmonics. We lack clarity. The higher register is too weak, and the musician, of course, that's the main problem, cannot move freely. He's kind of trapped into this 4 microphones for stands. It's just like you cannot play like that. Even in studio situation, it's very uncomfortable. So, but that was the starting point, and what we started to design afterwards is basically that. We have made kind of mixture between Wu-Wei usual system with the mono 5 microphone system and what I just presented to you just a few minutes ago with the 414s. The main difference is that now we have miniature microphones that are clipped on the instrument. They attach the instrument that the musician can move freely. We have a 5th microphone, which is important, especially because the reason I told you before. We need to have some freedom and to be able to handle this note, especially a little bit differently than the rest of the register. The microphone there are DPA 4990. 99, sorry. I'm counting in German. And they are more or less positioned at in the same region as the omnidirectional microphone that Wu-Wei is normally using. I'm gonna just play you one example with this. The first thing I'm gonna show you is this in mono. Basically, I don't show you in multi-channel now, but first in all mixed in mono to see if we have like a good balance between the instruments, between the microphones. Sorry, where is it? It's here. I have to put it to mono. Let's go. Not yet. Here we go. So, and a second example, same thing in multi-channel. Here, it's basically, of course, we have only two speakers with the headphones, so we have to mix it with the specific with a specific way, which is called binaural or 3D audio for headphones. I don't enter into the details, but basically we just simulate a kind of pseudo virtual room so that it's suitable for headphone listening, and it sounds like that. Same example. So as you can see, as you can hear, sorry, we have balance problem in the register. For example, the first G sharp, G sharp 3 is too loud compared to the other ones. I think that's one of the very first recording we did, and I don't say if we optimized, but we worked on that to find like better position for the microphones. The transition from mono to multi-channel says two things. It says us that it works. I mean, if we want to use this system as we did before, it's still possible to mix them in mono without any problem. And second, that as soon as we split them in multi-channel, we have the sound indeed coming from different direction, which is a good starting point, but it sounds a bit frustrating because we have space without room. So we basically are looking for a room which is not there. But I presented that dry on purpose. We're gonna speak about reverberation afterwards, and basically it's a future research field, but we already did some experiments. So we just did an optimization. How do we do for this optimization? Basically, our first principle to double check if the system is good or not is to, as we just did, mix it in mono and play the whole scale. And we then compare, of course, the volume, but not only. We compare the presence, we compare the tone colors, and we would like to have something which is as homogeneous as possible. Something can happen if you mix two microphones together which are not the same position. You can have like the so-called interferences issue, confiltering or whatever, meaning that it can damage the sound when it's being captured by two microphones at the same time, and we don't want that. So this is something we have to work on as well. And this means that we have at the same time to play with different variables to position the microphone. First, the absolute position of the microphone. Second, the angling, because it's a directional microphone, so it makes a difference in pointing downwards or upwards, of course, which is not obvious for unidirectional microphones, but it's obvious for directional microphones. And of course, the distance to the instruments. If you go too close to the instruments, you're going to have too much of this low frequency zoom first, which kind of sound maybe boomy and unnatural. And you have also misbalance between the different registers. So we have to find a compromise between too close and too far, which is also bad because then you have more leakage. As I said, it's a matter of compromises. I'm gonna just to finish actually this very short summary of what we did in the last 6 months. I'm gonna show you two recordings of the same piece that we was gonna play right afterwards, with one setup, the one we did, I think it was in July, and a second setup, same piece, same microphone, just a different setup, and we did that, I think, 3 weeks ago. The first version is the left one. The second version is the right one. Still dry. And then I'm adding reverberation. This is probably too much. Gonna reduce it. So that was it for the sound example. I'm almost done, and I would like to leave some time so that we can make a live example of it. To finish, I'm gonna just tell you what Wu and I would like to do in the next month and years. First, we would like to support this empirical research with scientific studies about the sound radiation of the instrument, because the radiation of the instrument is very complicated. It's hard to measure, and second, every Sheng will radiate in different ways. But I would be very curious if we can get some relevant information from the scientific research to support this empirical optimization of a microphone system. We did all those tests in a small room, 28 square meters. Sounds good, but it's like diametrically opposed to a concert situation. So we'd like to do further tests in real room with amplification, where you have enough space for the sound to radiate, to expand, where you can really test how it sounds with feedbacks, and try to start to think about spatial post-processing. We have 5 microphones. It's nice. What do we do with it? There is no good answer to that, or there is no one good answer to that, because it's actually a compositional question. What you do with the 5 signals depends on how do you want to orchestrate the music spatially. We would like to experiment to find some ideas, some tools that we can provide when we really start to work musically with these new tools. And we like to also to continue our research and experimentation of beats and different tones. What do we when I showed you like a few minutes ago with this kind of acoustic distortion. That's very interesting. We would like to also to work on the power of the instruments. How to give more body, how to give more low frequency warmth to the instrument. It's a challenge because the lowest note of the instrument is G3, 200 hertz, and it's not considered as low frequencies. So if you want to low frequencies, you have to find them somewhere else than in the tones of the instruments. And we found, and we tried, that putting a microphone in a wind chest, like the wind chamber below the pipes, is a good starting point. That's good news. The bad news is, however, that if you want to do that, you need a microphone which is strong enough to hold the high pressure which is in the wind chamber, because all our attempts just led to a massive amount of distortion, and also can also deal with the humidity. It's a challenge, but we think it's worth it, because basically it's the source of the power of the instrument is the breathing of the musician. And I think the closer we get from here, the more dynamics and more closer to relation to this power we can have. And finally, and that's we haven't tried at all yet, more electroacoustic processing of the capture sound, spatialization. I talk about that, different tones and time frequency processing. I don't want to speak about that because basically we haven't started yet at all. I'm down. I would like, before Wu plays, Wu and I would like to thank everybody, to thank Lini, to thank TPMC, to thank Eric also for the huge technical support at IRCAM, and to thank IRCAM as well. So I'm gonna switch off my microphone and leave the space to Wu. Thank you all.
Thank you, everybody.
So thank everybody, and we're gonna leave this the place to Christian Oates, and greetings from Berlin again.
Eric, est-ce que je passe, je fais une petite introduction pour Christian ou on passe quand même un peu des questions, réponses
We can answer to question if you want.
Yeah.
We have time.
There's some question? I cannot see.
So. Yeah, I can see that. Of course, if you have other questions afterwards, this presentation will be also kept on the website of IACAM. You can write us, you can write Lini, you can write me, and we'll be pleased to discuss, exchange, etc. So, no questions?
No question. Okay, that's good. So you did a perfect job.
Oh, one.
No question.
Did you observe masking effect, and did you try to compensate them by microphoning? Depends what you call masking effect. Masking effect in terms of spectrum, yes. Depending where you put the microphones, you can have too much of the high register, too much of the low register. It's kind of a complicated question, and at the end, there is no good answer to that because it depends on the music you want to play. we didn't have the time to speak about the tuning, but the tuning is also the question and also related to masking. The first thing you had, the first question you have to address when you think about microphone is how is the instrument and especially how is it tuned. Depending on the piece, depending on the tuning, it's quite possible that some overtones in a chord won't resonate at all because they will be masked by the other ones. As soon as you solve the question of tuning, meaning that you find a compromise which is okay for the piece, then you have to think about where to position the microphone accordingly. So the solution we present at the end is not the best, the ideal solution. It's one solution that works well for the piece that we wanted to present today. But of course, masking is an issue. So it's the first time I'm answering in real time to questions on YouTube. I'm very excited. I think it's already half.
We have one
We have
question.
one question here.
Yeah.
Hold on.
François
Yes,
Picard.
please. Hi, François.
I don't know if you can see me. It's more that like a commentary. So thank you very much indeed. I'm very impressed by the results that you have, and which is not the goal, but the way. The main result is the way. The Tao, the way you have worked on, and I'm very happy with that. The interference and the exchange between two people and the instrument and the room and the microphones is very impressive for me. What I like very much and what surprised me, because we had discussions I had discussions with both of you, and I had discussions earlier with Wu, is how you reversed the thinking of being inside the Sheng by putting the microphones from the outside. And I think it's very genius from you, because it works, and it's once you have showed it, it's evident. But before, I was stuck inside the instrument, in the middle of the instruments. And I think, how can we have the listener in the instrument? But I thought, so we have to have the microphone in the instrument. And you showed that this has to do with perception, and it's not just the figuring. If I may have a question, is that, Alexis, you have a phrase where you oppose the space and room, and I liked it very much. And is that usual? Is that what you use in English? And how would you say in French and in German the difference between space and room? Merci beaucoup.
Room is one aspect of space, I would say. In French, I would say acoustique des salles et espace. And space can be physical and can be perceptual. When I speak about space in this presentation, I speak mostly on a perceptual point of view.
Yes, yes. But it's very important in the whole process to have this separation of the geometrical real space and what you imagine and what you produce on the listener. And that's fantastic how you can go from one side to the other, or from the physical space to the mental space, and back in something which is the real room, where hopefully where the listeners is in the real room when we will be out of the locking. On sera déconfiné.
I think you do the same, because you have a very long-standing experience in production as well. And basically, when we work with microphones, we work intuitively. And what at the end, what counts is what we perceive. We have indeed some similarities, I would say analogies between two microphones, two ears. But realism doesn't exist in production. I mean, what we're looking for is not realism. It's just that it sounds maybe realistic. And it's not genius. It's just like basically the same way of thinking of that we do. Usually we just put microphones, listen to the results, say, oh, it's not what we're expecting, and we try to change it. This is what we call it empirical.
Yeah.
But I think you did exactly the same in the CD that you produced.
I hope so, but yes, sorry. And one more, thank you, Wei, for your marvelous Mei Hua San Nong. I like it.
Oh, thank you.
It's so beautiful.
Just a little bit. Next time, play for you live. It's much longer today.
Thank
we
you.
have no time. Okay, thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks a lot.
Are there other questions, or should we move to the next presentation? Okay, so thanks everybody.
Thank you, everybody.
And hope to see you soon in real soon.
Okay.